The housing market has been a roller coaster in 2022, but where are we right now? We have Stephen Delisle with kind of our end of the year roundup about the real estate market. So Stephen, how did it treat you this year?
Our team actually did very well this year. I'm excited to go over some of the numbers, do a deeper dive. Real estate did go through a little bit of a change this year.
Yeah.
So overall, though, Greenville did do really well and appreciated very well in comparison to a lot of the real estate trends nationally.
Well, what are some of the trends going on right now?
Some of the trends right now, we're actually excited to see that we're experiencing a normal fourth quarter. In 2020, that was the first year we saw that the trends of the amount of transactions continued to increase through fourth quarter, and that carried into 2021. Right now, we're seeing more of a slowdown in real estate market, which is typical and actually resembles more of a bell curve. And that's really what we're looking at right now, is that there's less supply and demand, and that's typical of a normal fourth quarter.
But around the end of the year, around Christmas, Thanksgiving, doesn't it slow down a little bit anyway?
It does. In the last 2 years, we didn't really experience that. So we're excited to see, and it's also important to know, I mean, if we're being honest with each other, how many people want to go in the cold rain to go take a look at a house for fun?
Sure.
That just doesn't happen.
Well, it does have a roof on the house, but who wants to go anyway?
Yeah. So what I'm excited to see is that we're going back towards a more normal trending numbers for what would be called really a normal market.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the takeaways from 2022. What were kind of your big ones?
So let's address the elephant in the room. We stood right here in January, and the interest rates were at 3%.
Right.
The Fed said that they were going to be raising the rates to 4% the entire year. We wake up in December now, and we're at 6.5% interest rates.
A little bit higher than they said.
A little bit. So depending on what the Fed's meeting is going to hold tomorrow will dictate whether or not we go up or down in the interest rates. And the way that they're going to make that decision is they're going to be looking at the inflation numbers. And let's talk about, for example, even the appreciation. We started out this year at 20% appreciation, and we're trending down to 9% right now. That may sound like a bad thing, but these are numbers that are reflective of before the pandemic. For example, 2018-19, we saw Greenville appreciate at a rate of 8%. 20% appreciation just isn't sustainable long term.
Right. So when we have that big meeting, is it today or tomorrow? Tomorrow. Who does it help? If they go up, who does that help? If they go down, who does that benefit?
If the interest rates go up, you have to think about the ratio of what a buyer can afford.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a $300,000 house and the rates go up, well, now you can maybe afford a $250,000 house. So that has to take into consideration.
Well, you got to remember, those of us that lived through the 70s and 80s at 21%
With the 17.
interest, you know,
I could
it's
not
not
imagine.
that big a shocker.
Right. It's still, we got spoiled being, some, down in the twos.
Yeah.
Steve, can you give us some insight into 2023?
I'd say this, so I can't predict the future.
Right.
Let's just deal with what we do know. We know that the Fed are going to be meeting at least 5 times this next year. They're going to be looking at the inflation numbers. They're going to make sure that the appreciation that we're dealing with right now and what we're experiencing is going to hopefully level off based off of what they do, right?
Right.
So I'd say that my experience is going to be that I would not be afraid of what the real estate market is here in Greenville. For example, what drives real estate is going to be interest rates and supply and demand ratios. So we have to look at those numbers and make sure that I wouldn't be afraid of what real estate looks like here in Greenville, just based off of how our infrastructure has insulated us and the amount of inbound migration. If you look at this slide, the amount of inbound migration that we experience here in Greenville is far more than the rest of what the country experiences.
I say you keep mentioning Greenville a lot. Is it booming?
Real estate is local. We have to remember that. It's not national. It's kind of looking at a national weather report. It doesn't make sense. So we have to look at what the real estate is doing here locally.
Well, when you say Greenville, do you mean really the upstate or just the city? I mean, we got Spartanburg 18
Greenville
miles
upstate.
away.
Yep. Yeah, that includes Spartanburg as well.
Okay, great.
Let's say.
Need to mention that.
Yeah, so with this, you always break it down so good for us. That's why we like having you on. Stephen Delisle Properties. If people want to get in touch, if you're looking to buy, sell, you're the man they need to talk to.
Yep, Delisle Properties across the board on all social media platforms. We're happy to have that conversation.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Stephen.
much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Thank you so
Christmas.
much.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to take a quick break and check in with Jamarcus. J-Man.